Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sara Gonzalez. With Glenn gone, we have all these awesome lineups taking place. So we've got Stu here. Stu Bergier is back. And then we've got Mr. David Harris Jr. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
You are jack of all trades, author, political commentator, social media king. Just everything, all in one package. So it's great to have you back. And then we've got Mr. Aaron Colin from theblaze.com, writer for blaze.com.
Yep.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We always appreciate it. Stu, what was the top story for you?
Yesterday we had a rare moment of bipartisanship, and I would like to ruin it for everyone.
Of course you would. You're sitting in Glenn's chair. That's your job.
I do.
All right, David.
The censorship, it continues. Graham's been hit. Steven Crowder's been hit. I've been hit. And I want to talk about that a little bit.
All right. And Aaron?
I want to talk about how Illinois just enacted one of the most possibly extreme abortion laws in the nation today. And the language in it is pretty striking. So.
All right. Obviously, a lot to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So if there are those of you out there who are, you're just living in constant pain. I know the struggle of living in constant pain. And what does it do? Like 66% of people who live in pain just assume that that's just going to be their life and there's no way out.
Yeah, they just have given up, essentially trying to fight it, which
That's
is sad.
the most depressing thing I've ever heard in my life. But I do know, I mean, pain, it does crazy things to you. You're just depressed all the time. You're walking around picking fights with your spouse maybe because you're just in pain and you're grumpy all the time. Relief Factor has worked for a lot of people here at The Blaze. It's worked for Glenn, who was in severe pain and, couldn't do simple things like paint. And now he's painting. I was in a severe car accident and had a bunch of protruding and herniated discs in my spine, and nothing worked for me. I tried massage, I tried acupuncture, I tried prescription drugs, I tried everything. Nothing worked for me. They wanted me to get injections. They wanted me to put me under every 6 months and get steroid injections. And I didn't do it, and I tried Relief Factor instead. I didn't need the steroids. I just needed Relief Factor. It's 100% drug-free. It targets the inflammation in your body, which you really, a lot of the time, don't know. That's the root cause of your pain. They have a 3-week quick start plan that you buy it. It's $19.95. 70% of the people who buy that, they go on to keep ordering more. It's working for the majority of people. It can work for you if you're in pain. Go to relieffactor.com or you can call 800-500-8384. I'd say it's worth the $19.95 to try to get out of pain. All right, Stu, thank you for ruining any hope that we had of bipartisanship. What you got?
I take happy times and I ruin them. That's what I do. So yesterday, Jon Stewart sat in front of a congressional panel and talked about the 9/11 Victims Fund and the potential ongoing funding. And he was very angry and was yelling at the congressman. Let me give you a quick taste of what that was like.
I want to thank Mr. Collins and Mr. Naylor for putting this together, but as I sit here today, I can't help but think what an incredible metaphor this room is for the entire process that getting health care and benefits for 9/11 first responders has come to. Behind me, a filled room of 9/11 first responders, and in front of me, a nearly empty Congress. Sick and dying, they brought themselves down here to speak to no one. It's shameful. It's an embarrassment to the country, and it is a stain on this institution. And you should be ashamed of yourselves for those that aren't here, but you won't be. Because accountability doesn't appear to be something that occurs in this chamber.
Harsh words.
Yeah, and really, really passionate. And of course, he's right. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, the bipartisan reaction to it was that Jon Stewart is completely right, and he is, right? I mean, we obviously should be making sure that we fund 9/11, the benefits and the health benefits of these people who did everything they could, and in many cases, are still dying today from these things. And of course, we all want these things to be completely funded. Stewart, to me, seems completely legitimate in this moment, and from all accounts, has been a real advocate for 9/11 victims. He's taken it seriously. We know freaking celebrities are. They're generally speaking awful. and they don't typically do anything that you want them to do. And Jon Stewart seems to really have done that. Obviously, he's a no conservative by any means. I'm sure he would not like any of the things that we typically say on this show. But he seems like he's a good guy, and the families really love him, and like he's done a good job with this. So all that being said, and it's important that all of that is said when we go into this, because there was a legit bipartisan cheer, and the media in particular is where I want to go with this, because they as well, took this on and said, look at this, Jon Stewart, he's righteous, he's coming after Congress, and these congressmen are doing nothing for these victims, and look at them, they didn't even show up. True, but on the other side, we have to tap the brakes a little bit on this. The news media's job is not to be an advocate. They're not supposed to be activists. They're supposed to be people who are reporting the news and giving perspective on the news. The perspective of the reality of this situation, with all the anger from Jon Stewart and righteous anger that he had, the true perspective here is there is absolutely no chance this will not get funded. There is literally 0% chance that this is not going to get funded. It's already funded till the end of 2020. If you think that Congress, in the middle of an election, in a presidential election, is going to go in there and rip funding away from 9/11 victims' families, you're nuts. There is no chance this is going to occur. And of course, this has been the same thing every 5 years. The way the fund has worked is every 5 years they're renewing this money going to these victims. And they deserve the money, and they will get the money, and everyone in America will cheer when they get the money. They deserve the money, and they should get it. But the media, instead of saying, okay, well, this is a moment and Jon Stewart's passionate, but so everyone knows here, they're going to get this money. It's been approved every time. It's always approved unanimously. Yes, there are sometimes questions about where the money comes from, and it gets a little complicated at times. But this is very normal standard practice. Instead of doing that, they all get up on their soapboxes and say how evil politicians are and how bad they are for not showing up and not caring. And look, if you're going to invite them there should be people there for them to be. They should be listened to, right?
Absolutely.
So I'll 100% with that. But in addition to that, I think the perspective needs to be out there that this is something that will happen and is essentially guaranteed to happen. They should not be in any doubt at all. And I think acting as if that is in doubt is putting them in an uncertain position. In addition to that, I would say that it's not necessarily a terrible idea for the United States government to revisit large funding programs every 5 years. Just as a general perspective, look, the 9/11 one is pretty freaking clear cut, and they get whatever they want, basically, as far as I'm concerned. I'm never going to fight a funding battle on that. I want them to get every single penny that they need. But how often? 99% of the rest of the government is really the problem. It's not the 1% they're actually looking at every 5 years. It's the other 99% that they're never looking at any year. They never go back to a baseline budget system. They never go back and revisit these earlier expenses. These guys will live and die to build a bridge to an island where no one lives. We all know they're going to, at the end of the day, fund this. And, they should make it as easy as possible, as this is about as open and shut as it can get.
Can I ask a question? Mm-hmm. Did you see the video where Jon Stewart was actually thanking Donald Trump because he was taking action that was pushing some of the 9/11 relief through faster? Have you seen that? It was maybe 6 months ago. But he was speaking, he was very outspoken about, he said, being a liberal and just being, the Hollywood celebrity that he is, he kind of knew he was crossing some boundaries, and he was like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I've seen more action take place under this administration for the relief of the 9/11 victims than he had been. So I think that's some of the built-up anger that he's feeling. But I was at least surprised and great that he saw that there was a difference. So something must be stonewalling or slowing down the relief that these 9/11 victims and their families had been getting.
Yeah, it's fully funded till the end of next year. So this is just the very beginning of the process of renewal. It's not, look, we're 18 months away from this funding ending. The government, takes a lot of things too close to the deadlines. It does a lot of stuff like this, but to act as if this is, they're making it sound like it's teetering on the edge of these people not being able to go to the doctor next week. And reality is just not the situation. They're going to get their money. They should get their money. I think the media is so worried about trying to score points and act like they're, these just social justice sort of warriors and fighting for everything that's right and everyone else is wrong and we're always right. And it's well, like add some perspective to it. Isn't your job to help educate people on what's actually happening in the government?
I think one of the things that stood out to me from that video was just the fact that he said that those people took their time, the most valuable commodity, which is their time, to go down there. And I think it's interesting as we're talking about congressional pay raises. We need
Well, at least AOC is.
Yes. Right. And those people, they need to show up. That's an important thing when there's an issue this important, and as you said, should be this clear cut. They need to show up and respect the people who are taking their time to come lobby on behalf of their issue. Those Congress people need to show up in order to be justifying the pay that they already get, and in the fact that some of them want raises. You know what I mean?
Half of them are freaking running for president, so they're Iowa all the time.
Campaigning.
It's a priorities thing. It's definitely
It
priorities.
seems to be a common theme now, David, in the media, that context is just not something that's even looked at anymore. Context of any sort of given situation, Stu, like you were talking about, the context of the fact that, hey, this has not run out yet. This is still fully funded. This, we've still got time to handle this. Seems like context is just something of the past when it comes to mainstream media.
Well, so much attention is placed on just being a hot topic. So much behind the scenes in media, period, is first story, create a story. If you can embellish a story, and when you're looking at the left-leaning mainstream media, 90% of mainstream media is left-leaning. I don't think they're too much into actual facts anyway. It's how much can we drive a story, how much attention can we get from the story, and a lot of times they just leave context out. They're just trying to create a heartbeat. They're trying to strike the heartbeat of the people, and the story does, but the context is what people are missing. And I think if people had the context on this story particularly, they probably wouldn't be so upset about it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's not the worst thing in the world that every once in a while we get a reminder that we're not supposed to forget these people.
Right.
Absolutely.
Even if it is just an emotional appeal. I'm glad that happens from time to time because, it is, look, they did such a good job in some ways. It's like it's easy to forget for a lot of people. I think you forget, okay, well, there's not constant tragedy going on in our faces, so we don't necessarily notice it. We should remember it, we should notice it, and then this should be funded. But that's the thing is, it will be. And thankfully, I don't know that every country on earth does this for people. I've been watching the Chernobyl series on HBO, and the Soviet Union did all sorts of crazy things to the people who were working on their disasters. Hopefully we can do a lot better than that. We saw some really horrible consequences for these people who legitimately were heroes in there working during and the moments after and the days and months after. Completely, really legitimately, I don't know anyone who disagrees with making sure that this gets done. And Trump has been really good on this. There's a lot of criticism that goes along, with Trump for various things, but he does care. The guy legitimately loves America and cares about this type of thing. And it's good that Stewart can acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, before we get to censorship of conservatives, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. All right, before we get back into the conversation, want to thank our sponsor, realestateagentsitrust.com. So Stu is in radio, and he knows, he's had to move around a bunch of times, that finding the best real estate agent, you don't actually use the guy on the bench with his picture and he's smiling at you like this.
Well, it depends how nice the smile is. If it's a really nice smile, then you go with him. But if not, you go to realestateagentsitrust.com because it is one of those things. I know, moving around a lot, you move into an area where you don't know anybody, and even if you do know people, a lot of times, just because you happen to know them from the gym, it does not mean that they're a good real estate agent. So realestateagentsitrust.com tries to fill in that gap and say, okay, we're going to screen these people for you. Anyone you get on this site is going to be a good real estate agent. And so you're starting from a place of knowledge, and that's always a better place to start.
Yeah, so Glenn's team, they've already vetted all of these people. They do this full time. This is their expertise. They're going to get you the best deal, and more importantly, they're going to move your family where you guys want to be. They share your values. You can go to realestateagentsitrust.com. That is realestateagentsitrust.com if you are looking to buy or sell your house. And I just have to say really quickly, my favorite real estate agent story is Jason Buttrell, who said his handyman who came to fix his toilet gave him his business card, and it had his real estate license number at the bottom of it. That's not what you want. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com. All right, David, censorship of conservatives. It's happening to Crowder, Graham, you.
Yep.
Tell us about it.
So my page on Facebook, my main platform, I've got just over 600,000 followers there. And I've been building that page for 2.5 years since the third debate between Trump and Hillary, and people really responded to my videos. So I've put a lot of time, effort, work, hired writers to add articles and bring news to the alternatives to the mainstream media news sources that are out there that are always slanted one way. And my reach, my organic reach, I've never paid for followers. I've never paid to boost any posts. I think I tested at one time $5 or $10, but my organic reach was between 1 to 2.7 million people a day.
Wow.
Interacting with my page, watching my videos. And I've been dealing with censorship with Facebook for a year and a half, but this just, it all came to a screeching halt just a little over a month ago, or less than a month ago, when they labeled my page fake news, which 2 videos that I shared, they labeled fake news. One of them was a CNN clip. So basically they're saying CNN's fake news. I need to do a video just on that itself. Yeah, CNN's fake news according to Facebook. But it was a CNN clip of them interviewing the founder of the Weather Channel, and he was saying that global warming is a hoax. And this guy founded the Weather Channel. He knows his stuff scientifically and everything. He was breaking it down, and they said, "Oh, that's fake news." And the very same week, they deemed another video that I had posted of Dan Pena, a billionaire business tycoon that loves and supports Trump and cusses every other word, but he's fun to watch. But he knows his stuff, and he had shared his trip to Antarctica and visiting the ice center, the center there where they take the deep drilling 50,000 foot tests, and so he's sharing his views on what he learned on global warming and why it goes up and down a couple degrees, 1 or 2 degrees over 10, 20,000 years it'll happen. So they labeled that fake news as well, and in their response to me, they demonetized my page, which is like my main source of income, how I pay my writers, getting paid for the content that I create, and they said they were going to lower your reach because their goal is to lower the reach of pages that share fake news. So in this video, I was getting ready to go live on my show, David J. Harris Jr. on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I was going live right before I moved here. I just moved to Fort Worth, so it was going to be my last show before moving to this area. And I hop on my page and I look at my analytics to just see what's happening. And this is the video that I recorded right after that. This is my page reach in the millions. You see, this is 2.5 million, and this is in one day. Okay, this is one day. This is April 30th, 2 million, 1.2 million. So you can see it goes up from 1 million to 2 million, 1 million to 2.1 million, 2.2 million. And then look at this, folks. This just has me beside myself. 2.7 million, May 13th, 14th. Look at this drop. I swear, it's enough to make, it makes me sick to my stomach. They are completely destroying my reach. Completely destroying my reach. From 2 million to 85,000. 2.7 million people in a day. I get messages every day from people that say, "Where are you? Where are your page? Where's your articles? Where's your news? I don't see anything that you post anymore. Is it even worth the fight?"
The visual of that graph, that makes me sick to my stomach, and I'm not you.
Yeah, it was really hard. I posted on YouTube. I said, basically, you know what it feels like? What it really feels like, and it's, you know what? I can say it because I will. It feels like the modern day version of a black man being lynched, if you're a conservative. But it's not just happening to black folks, so I'm not trying to make it a racial thing at all. But because I support the president, because I'm very vocal about that, it's a way they're silencing people, period. And it really is a lynching. They just don't care what color you are. If you're a conservative these days, then the left which it was the left back then that were lynching folks. It was the KKK was of the party of the Democrats. They were all Democrats, the Jacksonian Democrats. You know, the left has consistently and continually been the party against black Americans, and it's like the modern day version of it. They're not in white coats and hoods. Now they're actually running tech companies, and if you don't agree with what they say, this is how they silence you.
You asked the question in the video. You said, "Is it worth the fight?" I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it's a losing battle? Or what do you do about this?
I can't think for a second that we'll lose in the end. I refuse to think that we'll lose. That was probably making that video, and I put a little before and after it, it was a very low moment because it's like here 2.5 years in, building something, organic reach, and then for them to just silence you. And it's like, you know what? That's why I wrote a book. Why I can't stay silent. And I refuse to believe that we'll lose. I believe that something will change. Something has to change. And if nothing else, even just Americans waking up to realize, you know what, this is just not right. You know, they're doing it to one side of people. They're doing it to conservatives. Doesn't matter what color you are. They continually do these things to silence people. And I think that there's either going to be Americans are either going to continue to stay living in the dark side, where they're just totally in denial, where they feel like silencing people's free speech is okay, and it's going to continue to get darker until, you know, communism takes full effect through the people like the socialists that are running in politics. If Americans don't wake up, or Americans are going to wake up, which is what I think is going to happen, they're going to say, you know what, things are going the wrong direction. This is not right, and these are tactics that socialists will continue to employ until they are in control, and that's why it's as dangerous as it is for all these confessed socialist Democrats to be running for office. If Americans don't wake up, then before we know it, the America we know and love will be gone.
I think you see that these things are starting to impact a broader and broader segment of the creators on these platforms. And so it starts off and they may think, oh, that's way far right-wing radical. We don't care. But then it creeps on and it creeps on. And suddenly more and more people are going to be touched by this.
Yep.
I think that's the momentum that we need for more people to be aware of it and be upset about it, to where it puts the pressure on these companies to stop doing this type of censorship.
Yeah.
I'm sort of fascinated with this beyond just the political perspective, just the business perspective. It's like Facebook creates this thing and they invite people to come. We want your creative efforts to be here. This is the place for them. And they encourage people. And I know you're totally organic, but a lot of companies built their reach on advertising and paying Facebook, not paying them in some illicit way, but just paying for ads, right? Like so that people would recognize their brand and hopefully follow them. Then they paid Facebook all this money, and then Facebook's like, well, now we're not going to let you reach any of the people you paid us to find.
Yeah.
I mean, and from the creative perspective, like, you're putting your life's work into this. You're giving them all of this just on the side of like, okay, well, you'll trust them with having a legitimate business relationship, that you'll be able to create stuff, and that there's going to be some sort of way for you to be able to monetize that.
And I was. So
right. And then they just take it from you.
Yeah, Facebook was making good money off of my content. Yeah. And then it's like they don't care. I mean, they're so big that they feel like they can do whatever they want. And I think they're testing it out. Mm-hmm. Same way Fox did with Judge Jeanine. Mm-hmm. I think that was a test. Can we take her off and see what the backlash is going to be? And they couldn't handle it, so they put her back on. But these tech companies are doing the same thing. And you're exactly right, Aaron. They're going to keep doing it little by little unless we all speak up, unless we all... You know, I was thankful that Donald Trump instituted that website where people can go and share their censorship experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
And I put it out there. But something has to be done because it's just, it makes it that much harder. But we're in a fight, and we know we're in a fight, so.
Yeah. In the meantime, I feel like it's a really good time to bring up, if you have not subscribed yet to Blaze TV, now is the time. We're getting censored left and right, guys, and you're not going to find, your favorite voices all the time on, as David was saying, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. They're silencing us. So the way to make sure that you still get, what you're looking for is to go to blazetv.com. You can use promo code NEWS and get $10 off your annual subscription. Back in a minute.
I'm subscribed to Blaze.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I mean, that's really one of the reasons he started it, too.
Before we get into overtime, and by the way, you don't want to miss it because we are going to be discussing, as Aaron said, the most lax abortion bill in the country to date. Want to make sure, David, you tell everyone where they can find your book.
Absolutely. Why I couldn't stay silent. I mean, if there was a title and I need to write a part 2 because of what Facebook's done, Candace Owens wrote the foreword for this, amazing friend of mine, davidharrisjr.com. Click on my store, click on book tab, and you can get this book that shares why I support the president, why I'm pro-life, and why I believe that it's waking people up going into 2020. I get a lot of feedback from that.
Have you lost friends because of this?
Yeah, and even family. I mean, I've actually had family members say, "When did you start hating black people?"
You're like,
are you kidding
hello,
me?
I do.
Yeah, well, what happened to you? So,
Right.
But it's waking people up. I hear from a lot of people that have given it to people on the fence or even liberals that say, wow, I never saw those things. So amazing book, especially going into 2020 for people to get.
All right. Well, you guys make sure to tune in to Overtime. Like I said, there is much more to come. BlazeTV.com. See you there.